Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. So if you hadn't noticed, I have a new background, which I'm super excited about. I think it's just fun and bright and I wanted to do something a little bit different. So let me know what you think. Today I have a couple things for you. I've got my wrap up from August and I actually read kind of a lot of books. I'm sort of amazed at how many I got through. I'm not quite sure how I did it. The other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is my plans for September in terms of events, just in case any of you guys are going to be in the area. I live in New York City. There's a lot of really cool events happening this month and I have quite a number on my schedule, and so please do let me know in the comments down below if you guys plan on being at any of these events. I would love to meet up with you guys and I'm really looking forward to them. So first let's talk about book related events. Oh my gosh, there are so many books releasing this month that are really exciting and there's some cool stuff happening. The event that I'm going to be going to this month is actually this coming Tuesday on September 5th. And that is the launch party of Adam Silvera's new book, They Both Die at the End, which I'm super excited about. It's going to be held at the Barnes & Noble in Tribeca, and the event's also going to include a couple of really well-known booktubers, including Emma Books, talking with Adam Silvera about his book at the event, so I'm really looking forward to that. And then the next night, September 6th, Leigh Bardugo is going to be in town with a Wonder Woman signing, and I will also be at that event. That is going to be held at the Barnes & Noble in Union Square. I have been waiting to get my hands on the new Wonder Woman book, and I cannot wait. Just so you guys know, I do plan on doing some vlogging at all of these events, so keep an eye out for that going forward this month. The next book event that I'm definitely going to be going to is on September 17th, and that is the Brooklyn Book Festival. This showcases a ton of authors. Go check it out if you guys are going to be around. It is free. There's going to be panels and signings. I haven't been before, but I'm really excited to go. And then the following night, on the 18th, is the launch party for Soman Chainani's new Quest for Glory book. It's the beginning of a new trilogy where the characters are a little bit older. I loved the original trilogy. I'm really excited about it, and that event is going to be at Books of Wonder in Midtown Manhattan. In addition, I also have a beauty event that I'm going to be going to. The Generation Beauty Convention for New York City is happening, and that is going to be on September 23rd and 24th. If you guys are interested in going, I think there may still be tickets available, so I will leave a link below, and I'll leave links below to all of these events in case any of you guys are interested in coming. But just to give you guys a heads up, that's what I'm going to be doing in the month of September. And then soon after, the first weekend in October, I'm actually going to New York City Comic Con for some of the days as well. So super busy schedule. I'm really excited. So many fun events, and I would love to see some of you guys there if any of you are in the area or planning on being in the area during those days. So again, in the comments down below, let me know. That out of the way, let's go ahead and get into my August wrap up. I have a lot of books to talk about, you guys. So the first book I want to talk about is an ebook, To Hear the Ocean Sigh by Bryant A. Lonely. He is an indie author, and his publisher did send me a copy of this ebook in exchange for my honest review. To Hear the Ocean Sigh is a sort of coming of age novel featuring a character, Jay Murchison, who is a teenage boy living in the Midwestern United States, and he's really awkward and kind of nerdy, and I honestly had a pretty hard time getting into this book initially. It's written in first-person perspective from the main character, Jay Murchison, and the voice is just really stilted for a teenager. Now, I had a hard time telling if that was the author's writing style or if that was just how the voice of Jay Murchison is supposed to be, because he is kind of awkward, but it was a little bit off-putting, and it did take me a while to get into the story, I think partly because of that. However, I kind of pushed through, and I did end up getting pretty invested in the relationship between Jay and this girl, Saphne, who he, through sort of some random coincidence, starts this texting relationship with, and they develop a friendship, and she becomes sort of a catalyst for some of his growth as a character, and a lot of things happen. And I did end up really loving their relationship and getting invested in that and caring about what happened, and I found the ending to be pretty poignant. So I had mixed feelings on this one. It was hard to get into. It was occasionally a little bit more preachy than I wanted it to be, but I thought that the message at the end was pretty good. It had a lot of kind of typical teenage drama and rebellion, but you definitely see the arc of character development for Jay as the story progresses. This book for me was like a 2.5 to 3 stars. It wasn't amazing. The beginning was kind of hard to get into, but it ended pretty well, and I found myself being more invested in it than I thought I was going to be. So if you guys are interested, again, I will link that in the video description down below, along with all of the rest of the books and my reviews on Goodreads for them, in case you're interested in hearing more about my thoughts. The next book I read this month was The Art of Starving by Sam Miller. If any of you guys are interested in seeing me do a complete review of this book, let me know in the comments down below. I would be happy to do this. So this book has had some controversy surrounding it. Just to give you an idea, the main character, Matt, is a gay teenage boy who has an eating disorder and also begins to develop magical abilities. The Art of Starving is an Own Voices novel, and this book is an Own Voices representation for both eating disorders and for being gay. This I thought sounded very intriguing. I live near where they did the launch party, so I went and I picked it up and I started reading it, and oh my gosh, I loved it. I thought this was a fantastic book. It was heart-wrenching, it was dark, but it was ultimately really hopeful. I think had a really fantastic message to it and was just beautifully written. Now, the controversy comes in that I think a lot of people have found this book to be extremely triggering, especially if they have dealt with eating disorders. I can't speak to that personally, since that's not something that I have experience with. However, I will say that the writing is very raw and very detailed, and I could totally see how, if an eating disorder is something that you've struggled with in the past and are still continuing to struggle with, this could be very triggering for you. But for me, I found it to be incredibly eye-opening. It's not something that I've totally understood. I also think that there's not a lot of people talking about male eating disorders, and it also deals with his issues about coming out. He lives in a small town where he's not really accepted for not being heterosexual. So yeah, if this is not a book that would be triggering for you, I would highly recommend that you pick it up. It's good, and it took me by surprise. It's beautifully written, it's got magic, it's got romance, it's got a really sort of raw digging into the pain that we go through as teenagers, and that was one thing that I really identified with. While I don't have an eating disorder, I feel like this book totally speaks to the raw pain that so many people who experience bullying and experience just challenges with finding themselves as teenagers go through, and I really connected pretty deeply with that. It's a unique story. I've never read anything like it, and I feel like the author just really poured its heart and soul into this. I think this video is going to end up being a lot longer than I anticipated, but Art of Starving, definitely worth a read. This was a solid 4-star read for me this month. I really enjoyed it. The next book I read this month, I have already done a video review on, and that is Because You Love to Hate Me. This is an anthology with 13 YA authors and 13 booktubers. I loved this. This was a 4.5 to 5 star for me, and if you guys are interested in more detail on my thoughts, I will link my full review of this book in the video description down below. I get into all of the individual stories and why I gave it the rating that I did, but yeah, I thought this was a fantastic book. Next this month I read Something Strange and Deadly by Susan Dennard. This was a really fun read. I had not picked up this series. I have read Truth Witch, which is in her newer series, and I loved it, and I was curious to go back and read her older books, and I was not disappointed. They're really fun. This book is set in Philadelphia during the 1800s, I would say. And it features magic and zombies and a awesome, strong female protagonist who sort of flouts what society wants to happen. It's got some romance in it, it's got adventure, it's got intrigue, it's got drama. It's really fun. I really enjoyed it. This one I would say was 3.5 stars. I really liked it. I thought it was a solid book. I would recommend it. It wasn't one of my favorites, and I would say that I prefer Truth Witch, but yeah, good book. And I do plan on continuing with the rest of the trilogy. The next book that I read was The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. This book was maybe the most surprising of the month for me. It sounded really fun. It was in a couple of book boxes last month. I thought, okay, this sounds fun, a romp through Europe with these characters, cool. But I ended up really loving it and being incredibly impressed with the depth of the book and the way that it deals with issues of queerness and abuse and alcoholism and racism and just a lot of things, but also still manages to be funny and fun and a great adventure, and oh my god, this book would make such a good movie. I was also lucky enough to get a chance to sit down and talk with Mackenzie Lee, the author of this book, which was super fun. She's hilarious and I had a great time talking with her. I will leave a link to that interview in the video description down below if you guys want to check it out, but I highly recommend this book. This was a 4.5 star read for me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had a really good reading month, you guys. I'm like super impressed. Next is another book that I've already done a full review of, and oh my gosh, you guys gotta know, my favorite book of the year, Warcross by Marie Lu. I love, love, love this book, and if you want to see me gush about it and also get into some detail about what I love about it and what I thought was really interesting that she did with the book, there are spoiler and non-spoiler sections. And actually, you guys, if you had watched it and then you read the book, go back and check out the spoiler section. I really, really want to talk to you guys about this book, and I feel like it's hard to do unless people have read it, but yeah, this was totally a 5-star read for me. Loved Warcross. It knocked this one out of the park. Huge fan. The next book I read this month I had been seeing all over Instagram and BookTube and had to pick it up, and that was Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. And the sequel to this book is actually coming out later this month, I believe, Hunting Prince Dracula, so I'll probably be picking this up. This one I also really enjoyed. People had been raving about it. I will say this is definitely a kind of gruesome book. There's quite a bit of historical detail, which I actually kind of liked the fact that it was good historical fiction and it was fun and I liked the characters. It took me a little while to get into it because it starts out pretty gruesome and I don't think I was quite prepared for it, but it's a great book. The main character in this book is Audrey Rose. She is a highborn English woman who is interested in studying forensics, and she is living in London when Jack the Ripper starts killing people, and she begins trying to figure out who Jack the Ripper is. The blurb on the back says, "I was the girl who loved Jack the Ripper, dun dun dun." So, right, this is kind of a whodunit book, trying to figure out throughout it with the various characters that it could have been, who actually did it. There's a budding romance and you're kind of worried, like, oh my gosh, is the guy that she's falling for actually Jack the Ripper? And like, yeah. I will say that I guessed fairly early on, like within the first 100, 150 pages, who Jack the Ripper really was. And I was right. However, I did not guess his motive, so there's that. But yeah, this was just a really fun read. I feel like this would also be great for October. If you're wanting like a creepy atmospheric read, this would be really good for that. I would say that this was a 3.5 star book for me. I enjoyed it. I would recommend it. It wasn't like my favorite book, but it was really good, really fun, and I'll definitely be picking up the next one. The last book that I read in its entirety this month was One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. And again, I really like this book. I've been hearing mixed reviews of it. Some people loved it, some people weren't such a fan. This is essentially a murder mystery version of The Breakfast Club. There are 4 students who fit high school stereotypes present in detention when a fellow student is murdered, and all of them are suspects. All of them have things to hide and secrets that they don't want getting out, and the book is again kind of a whodunit murder mystery, which of them did it, but with this Breakfast Club twist. And I really enjoyed this book. You get chapters through all 4 of the students' perspectives, so you're switching, and it takes a while for you to sort of unravel what are all of their different secrets and what are they hiding. And one thing that I like about this is that she does a good job of going beyond the stereotypes. And in this case, I would say that the murder sort of forces all 4 of these characters closer to each other and developing different relationships with each other, but also with introspection and learning how to become their true selves and not just these sort of stereotyped selves that they have allowed themselves to be seen as. This was a 3.5 to 4 stars for me. It was fun. And I didn't figure out the ending until like pretty far through the book. I mean, I did figure it out before they actually tell you. It kept me guessing through a lot of it, and it was really fun. So yeah, I would recommend it. I enjoyed it. All right, last book I want to talk about, and this one I am like tentatively DNFing, which I hate doing. I don't like putting books down. I would rather finish them, but I'm just really bored. And that is Sarah Desson's Once and For All. I probably should have known better. I'm not that into contemporaries, especially contemporary romance, but I thought I'd give it a try. I know she's a super popular author, and I had read the first couple chapters of this book at a sampler I got a book on, and it was interesting and intrigued me, and so I picked it up because I saw it in my library. I've read like the first 100 pages, and I'm really bored. I'm like, okay, I can see where this is going. I can probably tell you the entire plot. I'm just not that interested. Maybe I'll pick it up again at some point if I get to where I'm interested, but you guys, I have so many other things to read that I'm way more interested in reading, so unfortunately, I think I'm gonna DNF this one. I hate doing it, but it's like, I am so bored. This is just not my thing. Like, I know there are people who love this, but I am not one of them, unfortunately. All right, so that is all of the books that I got through in the month of August. I read 8 books and I got partway into a 9th. Unfortunately, that one's getting DNF'd, but I'm really happy with this. I was like 3/4 of the way through Art of Starving when the month began, but all the rest of it I got through, and some of these were quick reads. I'd read them in like a day, but I'm like really amazed. This month went so much better than I had expected. Let me know in the comments down below if any of you guys have read these books, your thoughts on them. I would love to have a discussion about them. And also let me know what you guys read this month. If you guys like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and do subscribe to my channel to see more. Also, you can hit that notification bell to be notified every time I release a new video. And if you do decide to do that, let me know in the comments down below and you'll get a shout out in a future video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.